Hey guys, what is up? Welcome back to my channel. Today I wanted to do a video showing you my February wrap up and then my TBR list for March. So without further ado, let's just go ahead and get right on into it. Okay, so the month of February, as we all know, is shorter than any other month. And I'm also in the middle of reading the Throne of Glass series, which I feel like is just taking me so long. Did I sound like Australian? Because that was the goal. So in January, like towards the end of January, I started the Throne of Glass series, so I've been kind of reading it for about 5 weeks. About 5 weeks now. And in the month of February, I only read 2 of them because I was also reading 2 other books, which I will get to. So in the beginning of February, I was reading Queen of Shadows. I think I took like a week off, so I think that's what happened too, because probably I could have finished another book in that week, but I took a week off. I read Queen of Shadows, which is quite a heifer of a book, but I actually loved it. It has just about 650 pages. Number 3, which is Heir of Fire, that one is probably my favorite of the series so far, which is funny because it has like the least romance in it. It like starts something new, but honestly like almost nothing happens really at all during the book. But like the character development, like the new like friendship relationships, the new characters we meet, like everything, I loved it. I think it was like such a pivotal book for like all the characters, so I was so here for Heir of Fire. And then Queen of Shadows was probably my second favorite for sure. I really enjoyed it, and I definitely am excited to continue on with the rest of the series, but they're huge books and I just find that they take me a very long time to get through. Not really that long of a time. I think I read this one in about a week, and then the next one is Empire of Storms, which don't be fooled, it looks smaller, but let me just tell you something. All they did was get skinnier, thinner paper, because this book has just under 700 pages, whereas this has just under 650, and look how much smaller it looks. It almost looks half the size. Well, it's not. Don't be fooled. It looks half the size just because they use thinner paper. I was really excited when I picked this up and I was like, oh my gosh, it's not as big. It is very big. It's very big. Okay, so then Empire of Storms comes around. This is book 5. This probably is maybe my least favorite, which is right up there with the first book. Not that they're not good. These are still 4 out of 5 stars for me. I'm not like super harsh when rating books, just so you know, like not super harsh, but this was definitely this almost was a 3 out of 5 stars until the ending. And I'm obviously not gonna say anything and not gonna give anything away. But the ending of this book really kind of elevated it to the 4 stars. Like I was this close to giving it 3 stars except for those last 50 pages. In this book, we don't get like almost any of what I would consider our main character's perspective. We honestly barely hear from her at all, and it's kind of frustrating because it's almost like, sorry, I can't find the front of my necklace. There we go. It's almost like the author wanted to do way more surprising us than actually just telling a story, which is one of the biggest reasons that I almost gave it a 3 stars. And now that it's been a couple of days since I finished it, I kind of probably would still go back and change to a 3-star rating, but I'm just gonna leave it as it is. 3.5 stars is probably what I would give it now, because I just didn't love the way this was written. I still love all the characters, and everything they did in this book makes 100% sense to our story, but I don't love the way it was written. I feel like all the surprises was kind of a cop-out for just writing, you know what I mean? Like, I don't know. Maybe it's just me. I don't know. But still really excited to continue on with the series. We'll see how it goes. This has been taking like all of my time, and I think I'm gonna slow down with this series so that I can focus on other books. Okay, the other 2 books I read were very different than my typical genre. I do love young adult fantasy and adventure. Those are for sure that's like my favorite genre. I do love classics as well, but fantasy adventure, mainly young adult, that's that. The next book I read is The Great Gatsby by F. Scott Fitzgerald. This is a reread. I've read this before plenty of times. I think I read it once in high school, once after that. So maybe this is only my 3rd time. It doesn't really matter. This is one of my all-time favorite books. There's just, I mean, everybody knows the story, so I'm not gonna be concerned about giving away any spoilers, but there's just, Gatsby is the most fascinating character to me, especially reading about him through Nick's eyes, as Nick, who's somebody who's not really a dreamer, just gonna get by in life, doesn't really, you know, he just doesn't really go for his dreams, and then we're meeting his like closest, really only closest friend, who is a dreamer, someone who's in love, someone who's passionate, somebody who's done all this crazy stuff for one specific reason. And I don't know, like I can't get over this book. When I finished it, I kind of wanted to reread it. That's how much I love it. And I love the way F. Scott Fitzgerald writes. Like there's one scene where the first time Nick meets Gatsby, and the way he describes the way Gatsby smiles at Nick, it is just like so jaw-droppingly beautiful in my mind. Like it's so specific and so iconic. Like you paint the most vivid, most beautiful, most perfect picture in your mind. I could go on and on about this book. I'll choose not to spare you guys, because everyone knows the story. But if you've only seen the movie, I like the movie. I really enjoyed the movie actually, but if you've only seen the movie, I highly recommend reading this book. It's not even 200 pages long, I don't think. Yeah, it's like 175 or 180. It's really easy to get through. It's not like that hard. Yeah. And the next book I read, which I actually was so excited to read this. This is A Monster Calls by Patrick Ness. Something I didn't know about this book is somebody originally created the idea. Her name is Siobhan Dowd, and she died, I think, from breast cancer, and Patrick Ness got permission to take her idea and write a book based off of it. So like, I think a lot of the illustrations, maybe she did? Maybe not, because it says illustrations by Jim Kay. I don't know the full story. Let me just tell you, this book is incredible. This became one of my favorite books ever. I love the movie. The movie is one of my favorite movies of all time. I think it is the most beautiful movie I've ever seen in my entire life, like hands down. And I was so excited to read the book. The book is basically identical to the movie, and I know the movie isn't that popular, so I don't want to give away any spoilers because I genuinely want all of you guys to go watch the movie or read the book or both. One or the other. They're both amazing. In this version of the book I bought, I know it's a little weirdly shaped, which is kind of unfortunate for my bookshelf, but it has these, like every few pages, we kind of get like a little bit of illustration going on here, and some of them are just smaller, some of them are like that big, you know? But it's not like a picture book, like we still have pages full of, you know what I mean? This book is incredible. It is about a kid who is 11 years old. His name is Connor. They live in England, and it is about his mom. She has cancer, and it is about his way of coping with that. And it is just the most beautiful story in the world. I love the way he wrote. He wrote very simplistic, but it made you understand every single thought and feeling that Connor had, and I loved it. So I only got through 4 books this month, which is a lot less than January, but the reason I only got through 4 books this month is because I was like way focusing on Throne of Glass series. But because I didn't do a January wrap up, I kind of wanted to just tell you the books I read in January, just so you get an idea of like what I read in January, I guess. I finished the 3rd book, The Court of Wings and Ruin by Sarah J Maas. I started that series, A Court of Thorns and Roses, at the end of December, and so I finished that. And then I read Wicked King, but right before I read Wicked King, why is it a tongue twister? Right before I read, good grief, right before I read The Wicked King, which is so good, I read the little novella that Holly Black wrote called The Lost Sisters, and it's just like in between Cruel Prince and The Wicked King, and it just is like a letter from Taryn to Jude that doesn't really ever get sent. It's kind of like a mind letter. Does that make sense? I don't really know. And it just helps you recap The Cruel Prince a lot, and it's just really awesome to hear a little bit more about the stories we didn't know a ton about yet. So then I wrote Throne of Glass, Crown of Midnight, and Era of Fire, as I was saying, and so I think that was like 5 books. And then I read the Civil War #1 comic. And so I'm excited to keep going on with those because it's so good. The illustrations are so good. So it's basically like all the Avengers are being told that they need to be, it's kind of like the movie, obviously. All the Avengers are being told that they need to be like put under like government watch, and Iron Man is for it and Cap isn't, just like the movie. So that's kind of where we left off with at the end of Civil War 1. So I'm excited to go on with that. Now for my March TBR list. Now, I just want to like keep in mind, if you guys watched my last video, I'm writing something too, so when I do have downtime, I need to really focus on like giving 50% to writing and 50% to reading. So if I didn't do that, I could probably get through 2 or 3 more books than that are on my list, but because of that, I can't. So obviously, I want to read Tower of Dawn this month. This is book 6 in Throne of Glass, but I have focused way too much time on the Throne of Glass series, so I'm definitely gonna take a step back and allow myself to read other things while I'm still reading this. This whole book is in the perspective of Kael and Nesrin, which I couldn't give 2 shizzes about Kael, although I heard that this book makes you like Kael again. So if that's the case, then I am really kind of excited to read this. Obviously, I'm gonna read it because it's just, you know, another book in the series, and then we have the last book after this, so it is very important, I heard, to the plot. I did a lot of looking it up because I was like, maybe I could get away with skipping it, which is a bad thought, but I thought about it for a quick second. I am excited to read this though. I do like Nesrin, I just really don't like Kael, so hopefully this changes my mind. It's a big one. It's got like 700 pages. Well, it's got 650, I think, 658 for the entire book here. So it'll probably take me a while, especially if I'm devoting time to other things. What I'm currently reading right now is Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone. I just wanted to reread it. I've just felt in a big Harry Potter mood, and also we're going to London, Paris, and Dublin in June. So I wanted to start rereading Harry Potter because we're gonna go visit the Harry Potter like film stuff in London, and I don't know, obviously everyone loves these books. They're so dear to our hearts, so I just really wanted to read it. Okay, the next book I really want to get through in March is The Gilded Wolves. This is by Roshani Chonsky. So one of the reasons I really wanted to read this is because Books with Chloe on YouTube, if you don't know who Books with Chloe is, she's like such an amazing booktuber. She lives somewhere in Australia and she's really gorgeous. Anyways, she did a Six of Crows book club last month, and then they did a live show at the end of the month, and I really wanted to participate, but I really want to read the Shadow and Bone trilogy before I read Six of Crows, so I didn't do that. But this is the first in a series, I believe, so I don't have to read anything before this, and I really want to read this so I can participate in the book club and also like watch the live show after having read this. It's not a terribly long book. It has, I mean, it's kind of long, I guess. It has like 388 pages. That's not too bad though. Like compared to the Throne of Glass series that I've been reading, this is half the size almost. So I'm really excited to read this. I've heard amazing things. I've heard it's really exciting and action-packed, and it's very, very similar to Six of Crows. And one of the reasons I'm super excited to read this is it takes place in Paris. And like I said, we're going in June/July, and I just want to, I don't know, I just want to read it. Yeah, I'm excited for it. And then I also want to, as I was saying earlier, read the Shadow and Bone series. I unfortunately had to buy the paperback of this because I couldn't find the hardback set anywhere, and which is really just a big bummer because I love hardbacks, plus like I'm trying to get everything in hardback, you know what I mean? This is the start of the Grishaverse. This is book 1, Shadow and Bone. There is the trilogy, like this one, Shadow and Bone, and then after that there's the Six of Crows duology, and then after that there's King of Scars. So it is I'm like jumping into a new long series, kind of just like Throne of Glass, but these are broken up into different kind of little sections within the series. And I'm just not gonna devote all my time to a series like I did with Throne of Glass. I'm definitely gonna take a step back and just take a breather. Okay, and the last book I'm hoping I can get to in the month of March is A Curse So Dark and Lonely. I don't have it yet, or else I'd show you. I will be picking it up soon though. I'm really excited for it. I actually wasn't like super intrigued by it before I started hearing reviews because I was just kind of like, oh, another Beauty and the Beast retelling, like, don't we get so many of those? But everyone's been raving about it, like legit, just like raving. And so I'm excited to get my hands on it and read it. And so that would make 5 books in the month of March. But I also don't have any like short books. These are all kind of like middle to long length of books. So we'll see if I can get through them. Hopefully 4. If not, I will just push it off to the next month. And yeah. Okay guys, so that is going to be it for today's video. I hope you enjoyed. If you guys have read any of these books, let me know down below what you are thinking about them, what you thought about them, anything like that. Maybe you're hoping to read them in the future. And if you have any other book suggestions, also let me know. I mean, my TBR list is long, but we can always use some more suggestions. I'm gonna let you guys go though. Have a great morning, noon, evening, day, night, whenever it happens to be that you're watching this video, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.